I'm just learning how to use encaustic materials, so maybe this tutorial will help you learn alongside me. I started out with a piece of wood, 89 cents at Michael's, and a layer of encaustic gesso before I started to add the R&F encaustic medium, which is heated at about 160 degrees on a Presto little griddle. So after coating the board with the encaustic gesso, I think I put 2 coats of encaustic gesso, then I start with the heated medium on it, and I probably put 4 layers, 1 layer at a time. So you have to put a layer of the encaustic medium down and then fuse it with a heat gun. And really the only way to tell that it's fused is just watch the wax change. It gets all glossy and all your stroke marks disappear. So between each layer I'm letting it cool, and then I'm putting another layer of medium down, and then hitting it with the heat gun again so that it's completely fused together. So about 4 layers of that. So I've heated up the encaustic wax again, just because I know I'm going to be layering it with paper and I want to push the Bible pages down onto it. So I don't heat it a ton, but just to soften it a little bit. And again, this is all total trial and error. I'm just really figuring this out. So this is an old Bible page. It helps, the paper really needs to be porous. That makes a huge difference. You can glue it down if you'd like with Yes paste or something like that, but I kind of like it when it gets all funky underneath, maybe a few bubbles. So I'm just going to press the page down into the heated encaustic medium, doing that for both of the pages there, figuring out what I'm doing. Again, if you want to paste it down, go for it. I tend not to unless I'm maybe pasting down a picture. So once I have the Bible pages where I want them, I'm going to layer this with, oh gosh, I think I did 2 or 3 layers of encaustic medium over the top. Oh, this is where it gets fun. When I first started the process, I was really skimpy with the wax and realized that you can't be. You have to be willing to lose some wax along the way. So I let this dry for like 3 seconds. I should probably let it dry a little bit more, but I'm going to fuse it now with the heat gun thoroughly. Again, looking for the color change, for it to be a little bit shiny. You can tell, hopefully you can see it here on this. There we go, yeah. Starts to get very liquidy and shiny. So beautiful. That's about where I want the picture to go. Again, I think I put 2 layers of wax over the Bible page before I started with the picture, so just to make that clear, and you're always fusing in between every layer. So same thing here, I'm just pushing the picture down where I want it. This is just a photograph, matte finish, regular matte photo paper. And now I'm going to lay the encaustic medium over the top. It's really important to get the edges with the encaustic as well as fusing the edges really well. So again, hitting it with the heat gun, and you just really have to pay attention to not over fusing but not under fusing. You can see the encaustic change here pretty rapidly. It gets kind of shiny. So I think I put 3 more layers of wax over this, just repeating the process. Because you need to have something you're going to incise into, so you need a couple layers there. Trying to pick it up to show you, and yes, the wax sticks. Anyway, you can see the stroke marks on there, which basically should disappear when you fuse the layer. Yep, there it goes. Sorry for the background noise. We're having like a Florida storm, so what you're hearing is probably rain. So fusing thoroughly, making sure I get the edges. Again, I think I put 2 or 3 layers over the photograph here. Had this brainiac idea that I would show this to you and then the wax drain down. So note to self, don't do that. You can kind of see it puddle or move immediately, so I just refused it to kind of spread it out or distribute it evenly. After it cools, it'll become a little more clear. So what I'm doing now is just stamping into it with regular stamps. It's really trial and error to find out how cool the wax should be before you start stamping. If you rip a big hunk of wax up, you probably didn't wait long enough. Been there, done that. I'm just doing some mark making. It's really fun process. And it does not have to be perfect, which is also beautiful. So once I feel like I've made enough marks, it's time to just trim off a little bit of that excess paper with my scissors and then start incising. So this is just a tool I had left over from an old clay class that I took. And so because there are like 3 layers of wax over the top of the photograph, there's not a ton to incise into, but enough for what I want to do. And again, it's best to wait until the wax cools a lot. You can make some initial lines, but if it's too soft, you're going to find out really fast. So I would wait, the longer the better. I never wait long enough. But you can kind of see the marks there. And don't worry about the little wax balls. They just kind of eventually go away. I picked some of them off, but they'll kind of disappear. I'm not going to mark every piece of the mosaic on this photograph, but you can kind of see I went around and hit a lot of it anyway. Super happy with how that's turning out. You can see some of the stamp marks, not really well, but there, now you can see what's been incised. Okay, I am taking an R&F pigment stick. It is basically oil paint in a stick. And it's kind of squishy, awesome to work with. This is burnt umber, which tends to stain the wax a little bit, so you need to keep that, be aware of that. So be pretty generous with the pigment stick. I was kind of skimpy at first, and then it did not go into the incised lines enough. But I am going to cover the entire piece, all over the whole thing, with the pigment stick. All right, speed that up. Almost done here. You want a stiff bristled brush to make sure it's getting inside the lines everywhere. You can always go back, but for the most part, cover them all. And then I highly suggest having a glass of chai. Yep, always. All right, so I've also used a little bit of the black RNF. So it was burnt umber and black RNF oil pigment sticks, which I've got on Amazon, I believe, online. And now I am just taking a cotton rag, actually. All right, so it's a pair of my husband's old underwear. But why not put them to good use, right? Okay, so this process just takes a long time of rubbing off, and it takes a lot of elbow grease, and you'll go through a rag or two, but you can kind of see already how the umber changes the color of the wax a bit and gets inside the incised lines. So kind of cool. To aid in the process, I use linseed oil, which takes some of the color out from the oil paint. So just finding a clean spot on the rag, and you'll really see a difference here. Yeah, there we go. So now the color of the photograph's able to come back through. And taking some of the color back out of the wax so it just falls into the lines. You can see the change there. It's pretty dramatic. So this process takes a long time. You can kind of start to see the colors coming through. Okay, after I do this, I realize that I want more mark making done up in the areas where there isn't much above the photograph. So this is kind of risky. I could leave it alone, but no, I have to mess with it a little bit more. So I'm going to reheat the wax, and you have to be very careful because you can just blow the wax off and blow the oil pigment out and all that. I just want to soften a little bit so I can go back in with a stamp and make a few more marks. So like I said, risky but worth it. It's really hard to see the marks, so I'm just feeling if they're there or not. Gotta heat it up a little bit more. Gotta mess with it just one more time. So this is the part where you can really mess it up. I think I went through 3/4 of a pound of encaustic medium before I kind of figured out what I was doing. So don't feel badly. It is a process. And no mistakes in art, right? Okay, a few more marks and then we'll move on to the next step. I need to go back in and add some of the oil, wait for it to dry, the encaustic to dry, and then go back in. It'd be really nice if I moved my right hand so you could see what I was doing, but I'm just going back into the marks that I made and covering them with the oil stick, and then I'll wipe them off afterwards. All right, it is coming along. This is one of my most favorite parts. Pan pastels, who knew? Beautiful, pigmented, powdery pastels. And what I'm doing here with just a little swabby thingy, what do you call it? Yeah, swabby thing. I want to kind of antique the edges, so I just rub this all along the edges, and then for whatever reason it works really great if you rub your finger over it. Might be the oil in your finger, I don't know. But to kind of really get the color in. All I have is the earth tone set, but it's on my list of more buys, every color imaginable of pan pastels. Really cool because you can screw them into each other as well, but you can see the coloring of the pan pastel, and then you have to fuse it, but lightly fuse it. If you fuse it too intensely, the medium will heat up and then you'll blow it. And, you know, I know all this stuff because I did it many times. Blew the pan pastel right off the piece. But anyway, so I'm just watching for that little color change of shiny and then stopping. So go all around the edges, and this just embeds that pigment into the encaustic. Happy, happy. Yep. Hope you can kind of see. Oh, there we go. Hope you can kind of see that the color's embedded in there now. And it is taking shape. All right, so time to bust out the little perfect pearls. These are water-based paints from Ranger. I think there's like gold, bronze, whatever. So mix them with water, and now I'm just going back in, because the surface of the wax is kind of oily from the pigments and the oil, the linseed oil. The gold will only stick in certain places, and I like that. You can kind of see as I brush it over it, there's just 3 little spots there. But that's kind of what I want, because I want it to look aged and not, you know, like to simulate gold leaf. It's not all going to be pristine the way it was originally. So I just go through all around the piece. I especially want to highlight Christ and the halo around him, and all around the edges and some of the deeper lines with gold. And I just wipe off the excess. Again, it's water-based, so you can kind of see how it reacts to the oil surface. Beautiful little paints, though. I'm really loving them. There's like silver, white, pearl, bronze, gold, something. Get them all. All right. Kind of see where the gold is staying in. Well, kind of, sort of, up near the top, above Christ's head there. Yep. There we go. Just love how that looks all aged. That's pretty much it. Once you got the gold in there the way you want it, yeah, pretty satisfied with how it's coming along. Maybe a few touch-ups here and there, or to see if I can get a little more of the color of the photograph to come through. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, for learning alongside me in this. Hopefully this will be the first of several encaustic tutorials.